Hi, Jules. It's Tennille. Thank you so much for allowing me to do your mini reading. Now, this is the cross, and the cross has 4 cards or 4 different questions. The first is your theme, then there's your challenge, there's what you think, and then finally what you need. So we'll jump into it by starting with your theme. So we have awaken, happiness, and 7 of Cups. And so the theme of your story, your life at this moment, is that you're awakening. And in order to awaken, imagine when you first wake up in the morning. Like when you first open your eyes, sometimes your vision isn't quite clear. Sometimes we have like sleep or coal in our eyes. We kind of got to wash our face. And so the idea of the awakening, it's not like going from blindness to now I can see. What I'm saying is that there are levels, there are stages. The awakening is really a process. So whether you're squinting or whether your eyes are wide open, allow yourself grace wherever you are in awakening. So what are you awakening to? You're awakening to your own happiness. And the way to know that it is genuinely your happiness and no one else's is because when you do things or when you see things that are a part of your life, when you get that sense of happiness, that just confirms that you're on the right path. And so you are awakening to your own path. Now, the energy of the 7 of Cups is saying, okay, I'm awakening to my happiness. Anything that makes me happy solidifies to me that I am exactly where I need to be, doing exactly what I need to be doing. But as you awaken to the things that make you happy, you also are going to awaken to the things that do not contribute to your happiness, right? Or you'll awaken to the things that kept you asleep, or the things that kept you stuck or kept you dormant. And so awakening to the fact that you are finally on the right path requires you to make choices, meaning you have to go back and you have to look at all the ways in which you are emotionally connected to people, places, and things. And then you have to assess those people, places, and things to see, are they contributing to my happiness, right? And if they're contributing to my happiness, well, then they deserve to be on my path. If these people, places, and things that I have committed my emotional self to, or that I have poured myself into, if I pour myself into cups that are not pouring back to me, or when they pour back into me, they are not contributing to my happiness, well, then that is a choice that I cannot make, right? And so here's the thing. If we don't change it, then we're choosing it. So if there are things in our life that we just do not like, if there are things in our life that are not making us happy, well, then we can change them. When we don't change the unhappy things, we are essentially just going to continue to choose the unhappy things, right? And so your theme right now is you're awakening to your happiness. You're awakening to your path, the right path. And you recognize that, listen, as I awaken, I'm going to have to choose people, places, and things a little differently, okay? Now, what is your challenge? We have light in the dark, change, and the 5 of Pentacles. Light in the dark is essentially, listen, imagine being in the dark room and somebody walks in and turns on the light. Like initially, it can be scary, shocking, it can be super uncomfortable. If you are in the pitch black and all of a sudden a bright light comes on, like there's a period of adjustment where you kind of got to get your eyes together, you got to see what's going on, right? You're not really sure if the light is good or bad because you can't make a sense of what's around you. And so this is saying that maybe as you awaken, there have been some places in your life where there has been some darkness. Maybe you haven't been able to really see things for what they really are. Now, once this light comes on, and the light is only coming on because you're awakening, right? You've opened your eyes, and I'm talking about your spiritual eyes. Like once you open your spiritual eyes, you can't close them, right? But it's the truth and it's the light that comes through those eyes that kind of shines light on things that maybe you're like, oh God, that's what I was doing, or that's what that is, right? It's like now everything, you can see it a little differently, you can see it a little clearly. But here's the thing. When the light shines on all of the things that were once covered or hidden by darkness, it is going to require you to change. Now, I said, If we don't change it, then we're choosing it. So your challenge is to pay attention to what the light is touching. When the light touches whatever it touches, when things are revealed to you, when things are shown to you, recognize that you cannot grow, you cannot evolve unless you move something, unless you change something, unless you do something differently. So the hard part is that when the lights come on, we're not allowed to just sit and stare. We actually have to sit, stare, reflect, and then act on what it is we're looking at. Now, the Five of Pentacles comes out with the challenge. So the Five of Pentacles talks about those times in life where we feel like we are lacking. We don't have what we need. Now, that can be basic needs, or it can be something in terms of like relationships or stable home life, right? But the thing is that you're awakening to your path. And so the Five of Pentacles moment, like that discomfort of just not really having everything that you really want to have, any struggle, anytime we're struggling is uncomfortable. But struggling is necessary because it forces us to change. If we're not uncomfortable, then we won't change. And so your challenge is to turn on the lights, look at all the things that've been hiding in the dark, and figure out what you can change. As you change, it's almost like you're changing because you're being honest with yourself, and you're changing because you're doing what genuinely makes you happy. You're doing what genuinely and authentically is you. You're doing what is your path, right? So your challenge is to turn those lights on, to see things for what they are, and then to figure out, how can I grow through this? How can I evolve through this? How can I change this? Now, the next card, it says, this is what you think. So we have step by step, indecision, and the magician. So here's the thing. When those lights come on, you absolutely are in the spirit of change. When we see the magician, this means that it's like you're looking all around you and you're like, okay, what do I have? What can I salvage? What can I use to create, to build? Or, this is about you recognizing that your hands are magic. Your hands are blessed, right? This is you recognize that like magic is running through you, and anything that you are not pleased with is something that is in your control to be changed or altered. But here's the thing. We don't always know what we're doing or why we're doing it. We don't always have the right choices. We don't always have the clarity that we need as we are taking these steps to manifest and to create a new life. Like, we don't always have a step by step. Actually, none of us. We don't have a rule book. We don't have a schedule. Our life doesn't come with like a syllabus and a binder. It tells us what to do on this day and this. Like, it doesn't work that way. And so as you are manifesting and as you are creating, the message is that it literally is one step at a time, meaning it's one day. It is a series of 24 hours. Maybe you break it up into 3 hours at a time. But the idea is that you don't have to figure out your entire life in every step. When you take one step, you only have to consider the important things that are a part of that step. Okay. And so when you're dealing with indecision and when we don't have the answers we need for all aspects in our life, Spirit is saying you have two things. You can use your intuition, because your intuition is almost like your emails, your text messages, your phone calls, but it's all coming from your soul. That's how your soul is communicating with you. And the soul is the part of you that's eternal, that never dies. The human body, this thing expires, but the soul doesn't. And so when the human doesn't know which step to take, when the human is indecisive, the soul is never confused. And so it is when you are jumping into your own magic, it is when you're manifesting and when you're creating, when you start to recognize that you don't know which step to take next or which way to go, Spirit is saying, allow your intuition, allow your soul to kind of give you some clues or some guidance, right? Now, this is what you need. This is the final card. So we have persona, envy, and the King of Swords. So there's only 4 spots on this reading, and we have the Magician and the King of Swords. And so The King of Swords can be you or it can be someone else, but I'm just going to go into this really quickly. So what you need, this is a persona thing. So let's think, whenever you're awakening to who you truly are authentically, I want you to imagine that you have to remove you're like an onion. It is an onion. Think about how onions have layers, and you have to peel back the layers. And every layer that you are peeling back, it's a part of a persona. It's a part of a person that you had to become because of how this life unfolded, right? But the personas, the personalities, the way the world receives us and understands us to be is not authentically who we were when we first got here. But because of life, we have put on layers and ways of being and talking and existing, right? We've developed a mechanism that can help us navigate this life. But when you are trying to manifest, when you are trying to create from an authentic place, you can't use a persona to do it, right? You got to get to the nitty gritty of who you are. And so this is the thing. At some point, you're going to have to remove the layers, right? Imagine that life has just thrown a whole bunch of blankets on top of you, right? And you got to breathe. Okay. And so layer by layer, you're taking off those blankets because you finally just want to take a deep breath. Like you finally just want to exhale. But that's what you're getting to. But the envy tells me, you know, when somebody envies you, it's almost like because something about you looks easy. Something about your life doesn't seem to be as challenging maybe as theirs was, right? And so I don't know if you have created a persona that has protected you from the envy of others, right? Or if you figured out a way to kind of hide yourself as to not trigger the jealousy or the confusion of others. Something about that. But this is just saying, you know, when people envy, it's because they forget that we really are all the same, but our challenges just look different. There's nothing better. There's nothing worse, right? But there is this persona. So I don't know if people envy you or if at times because of the persona that you've had to adapt to or the persona that you've had to pick up, maybe you kind of envy the fact that maybe others get to be authentic and you've kind of had to develop these layers in order to protect yourself. So something about getting to the root of who you genuinely are. And if there are people who don't like who you know, sometimes we play small. Sometimes we shrink ourselves or we make ourselves to be less in order to make others more comfortable with who they are. Now, the King of Swords is like the masculine energy who is very logical. They're just, they give good advice. They're wise counsel. So people, if you are coming out as this King of Swords, you know, sometimes the clarity, sometimes you might hide your intelligence. Sometimes you might hide your analytical mind. You know, you can be a very cerebral person. You could be naturally therapeutic. People can trust you. You can kind of just see through the bullshit and kind of help guide people. If you have had to hide an aspect of yourself, maybe because people envied your intelligence or your wit, I think that these are the layers that need to be shed. So listen, if you are a mental gymnast, then be a mental gymnast, right? Manifest the version of you that is authentically you. So you could be this King of Swords, or people have just been very harsh or critical of you, which is why you had to develop these personas so that people didn't envy you, right? But either way, I think that you need to become like the King of Swords and just embrace your own mind, embrace your own authenticity, right? Snatch off those covers and throw away those layers. You can only be you, and anybody that doesn't like you for you is somebody that just cannot be around you because they can't appreciate your authenticity. Okay, Jules, I love you, and I hope that this reading was beneficial, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care. Hi, UB. Thank you so much for allowing me to do your donation reading. Now, the reading you selected is the cross. The cross has 4 cards. The first card talks about your theme. The second card is your challenge. The third card tells me what you're thinking. And then finally, the fourth card tells me what you're needing. So let's just go ahead and jump right in when we'll start with the first space. So for your theme, we have synchronicity and fear. Right? Now you are coming out in the energy of like a King of Cups. So in terms of a King of Cups, this is somebody who in their masculine energy, this is somebody who's very psychic, who's emotionally mature, who's emotionally available. And so I see you kind of being just in this emotional or intuitive space. And it's almost like you're trying to make sense of your internal waters, right? And the thing about fear is something we have when we're kind of stepping into the unknown, when we're moving into places or spaces or energies that we just aren't familiar with. And so when something is unknown, we have a tendency to feel like we're in the wrong space. We have a tendency to feel like we're not moving, we're not progressing, or something is wrong. And so the thing about the fear here, it says that anytime that you start to get fearful of something, recognize that that is just you learning to test your ability to live in love. So love is kind of this thing that says, I have what I need all the time, no matter what, right? Like I'm always fulfilled, like everything is exactly the way it should be. I'm not missing anything. But fear has this way of feeling like something's wrong, something's off, something's missing. And so the theme that is kind of plaguing the space that you're sitting in right now, it's really about these unknowns, trying to make sense of these unknowns. Maybe it's emotional, maybe it's intuitive, and so what is going to help you? False evidence appearing real. I think that's what they say fear is. If you were to have an acronym for feel, it's false evidence appearing real. And so when you're moving into an unknown space, but you haven't been there before, you don't have any proof, you don't have any evidence of the outcome. And so it's a lot easier for illusions to creep up and to convince us that something's wrong, something's off, we're not going to be successful, those kind of things. And so the way to combat your fear based on the message in this reading is to look for the synchronicity. And so this is about resistance. And so even if you are moving into an energetic space that you are not familiar with, whatever this fear is, wherever you have that feeling, the message here is to look for the signs of synchronicity that reveal to you that you are exactly where you're supposed to be. So in terms of synchronicity, you can find synchronicity in nature by looking at license plate and seeing repeated numbers. You can look on billboards and look for messages that reveal almost like a conversation or a flash of insight that you've had at another time. And so synchronicity is saying, listen, anytime you are afraid of the unknown, anytime an illusion convinces you that something is off, something is wrong, or something bad can happen, the universe and nature are almost providing messages for you to almost relieve you from whatever the anxiety is about these next steps that you're taking, right? And so this is giving me the energy of like somebody who emotionally is very balanced, but there's just this energy where you're just trying to kind of muster up enough strength to know that whatever this next thing is, like it's okay, even if it is foreign, okay? Now, what is your challenge? Well, for challenge, we have failure. So this is telling me, well, there's a fear of failure, right? And so anytime I see failure, this means first of all, just the concept of failure. When we fail, we often don't consider a failure to be really a lesson. If every time we made a mistake, or if every time we failed at something, if instead we could switch our perspective to be one that says, the only reason this outcome is the way it was is because there was something I needed to learn, right? And so until we learn what it is we are supposed to learn in whatever the experience is that we're taking a part of, we are expected to fail because it is in the mistake. It is in the failure that we learn something we never learned before. So it's almost impossible, Imagine you have a little baby who's never walked before, or a child who's never drawn before, or rode a bike, or played an instrument. It would be kind of foolish to laugh at a child, or to accuse a child of failing if they've never done it before. And the thing about adulthood and adulting is a lot of times when we've been on this earth for quite a while, we forget that we need to offer ourselves the same grace that was offered to us as kids when we were just learning how to do something for the first time. And so the idea here is every time you fail, every time you make a mistake, it really is an indication that you've learned something that you didn't know before. And it was in the mistake and it was in the failure that you discovered, you discovered something. And so your challenge right now is to recognize that you are enough exactly as you are. And in the event that you make mistakes in what comes next, in the event that you experience any type of failure, that is not an indication of you lacking. That is not an indication of you not being good enough, you not being worthy, you not having value, you not being adequate. It is only an indication that you learned something that you didn't know before. But you are good enough to learn new things, which means you're good enough to fail. You're good enough to make mistakes. And a lot of us aren't going to make the same mistake twice, right? And so that's the importance of going into new energies with the perspective of, if I fuck this up, it's okay, because I must not have known something that I am about to learn after I make this mistake. And so your challenge is about momentum. It's about movement. It's about picking up speed. It's about moving forward. Whether it's you putting yourself out there, it's whether you're going forward with something. The idea is if you stop, nothing happens. If you stop, you can't win. If you stop, you can't overcome. If you stop, you can't grow. And so being afraid to fail has a tendency to kind of make us not want to try at all, right? But how do we grow? How do we develop, right? If we don't put ourselves out there. So whatever the thing is that you are supposed to be pushing forward, your challenge is to know first and foremost that you are enough. No matter how the outcome falls, you are enough. And if the outcome of what it is that you are pushing yourself or what you're putting yourself out there, whatever that outcome is, listen, if it doesn't go the way you want it, that was because you had to learn something, right? And so it is in the mistake that you learn the gem, or you find the nugget of wisdom or truth that you didn't have before. Now, this is what you think. So we have step by step and perseverance. This is beautiful, which is probably why the reading kind of starts with you being, in the energy of the King of Cups. It's more of an emotional thing as opposed to a mental thing. Your clarity, your mental agility and mental strength, you know that you can put whatever you put your mind to, you absolutely can achieve and accomplish. And so you have this attitude of perseverance, literally just step by step by step. So whatever you're investing in, like, here's the thing. If you're growing crops, when you put the seed on the ground is not going to be when you're able to eat and enjoy the harvest, right? And so here's the thing that you kind of got to return to the thing that you're growing every single day. And it's day by day. It's step by step that you return. But every time you return to the investment, you are proving yourself that you can do whatever it is you put your mind to. And so if there's any attitude that you should have right now, it should be an attitude of perseverance. All I got to do is take one step at a time. One step at a time. Sometimes it's monotonous, it's mundane, it's doing the same thing every day. But if you know that there are certain things you need to do to grow this crop or to grow this investment or grow this project, eat it in increments of 24 hours at a time. All you got to do is 24 hours at a time. And if you can show up for 24 hours, well, then you're going to take that 24 hours and roll it over into tomorrow and use that same momentum, that same mindset to persevere. Now, finally, this is what you need. We have play and surrender. This is literally saying you need to have fun. You need to lighten up. You need to enjoy life. At the end of the day, sometimes we have a tendency to be so serious. Why? Because we want to control the outcome. And listen, as an adult, control is important because we are really in charge of how our life unfolds, right? And so sometimes it's hard to surrender to the process because it's like, well, if I let this go, if I don't care enough, if I don't focus enough, if I take my hands off of the wheel, this is going to be a train wreck, right? And so we have a tendency to cling on to things really tight for good reasons, right? It's because we want it to end the way we want it to end. And so in this message, Spirit is saying, listen, surrender your need to control what you can control. And that's how you show up every day. That's your mindset. That's your emotions. Control that part. But what you really need to do is to play. That's that energy of the inner child. Whenever I see this card, I think of kind of like going to Dollar Tree and getting paper and crayons and a coloring book and Play-Doh, right? And some Legos, literally just playing. Sometimes as adults, we forget what it feels like to get lost in the moments of life. And so if control is an issue, if releasing your grip is an issue, do something that would be fun for you. Do something childlike just to invite a new energy into whatever it is that you are pouring yourself into, okay? So this is about being able to gain your stability literally by playing. And that is how we kind of purge the fear. We purge the mindset of failure, right? Because kids just naturally aren't afraid to try. Like, kids think they can do anything, right? You give them a towel, you tie it around their neck, you put them on a table, they're going to jump off and tell you they're a superhero. We kind of lose that energy in our adulthood, but that is the exact thing you need when you're about to pursue something. It's almost like you need to play so you remember that you are this superhero that is capable of everything, right? And you really don't have to control it because you just naturally are super. It's almost like being able to imagine or to see life through the eyes of a child. It's through innocence, it's through play, and it's just expecting the best in every moment, And so when you are feeling like you're lacking stability, when you are feeling like you don't have a lot of energy, or I got to steal energy from this so I can have enough energy to this, Spirit is saying that instead of attempting to control the aspects, the small pieces and the big pieces, play a little bit to give yourself a break and to invite in a whole new perspective, right? I love you. Thank you so much for allowing me to read for you, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye. Hi, Truthseeker. It's Tennille. Thank you so much for allowing me to do your mini reading. Now, you did choose the cross, and the cross has 4 cards, okay? So the first one is our theme. The next one is your challenge. The third card is what you're thinking, and then the fourth card is going to talk about what you possibly are needing, okay? So to begin the reading, we'll start with the theme. Now, we have rest, fear, and the Magician. Now, the Magician says that right now, the space that you're standing in is you are creating, you're co-creating, you're manifesting, you're looking around at everything that you can put your hands on, and you're like, what can I do with this? Right? So this gives me the idea of you being in a partnership with the universe, but the thing about this partnership is you recognize that you have a responsibility in what happens next, right? And so this is you recognizing that your hands are magic, your mind is magic, right? Like you are a walking manifestation, right? And so this is about you kind of like putting your magic into motion to see what you can create, to see what you can almost muster up. Now, the thing about this is rest. So maybe in the process of manifesting, in the process of this new beginning and in this creating, a part of the energy that you are working with is fear. Right? Now listen, if you are trying to create and establish and build something, but you're afraid of the outcome, or if you're afraid of your ability, that is a real energy that creates a blockage or some type of stuckness. And so Spirit is saying, listen, whatever you're manifesting, whatever you're creating, whatever this new thing is that you are in a partnership with the universe for, whenever you start to feel fear, and what does fear mean? You know, whenever I think of fear, I think of, okay, if you walk outside in the daytime and it's really sunny, and you look left, you look right, you can find all of the things that you love. Like you can easily see birds and butterflies and flowers, right? It's so easy to find love when the sun is shining, right? You find things that bring you peace and joy, and it brings you comfort to keep walking because the sun is showing you everything around you. However, let's imagine that you're walking outside and it is pitch black, it is nighttime. Now, you can be walking down that same street that you were just walking down in the daytime, but because it is dark, you're not really sure what's left. You don't know what's right. And so now this is where the illusions come in, right? Because our ego wants to keep us safe. So sometimes we will think of something that could go wrong, even if nothing really is going to go wrong. And so what I'm saying is that when you are going into a territory, a space, or an energy that is unknown, that is unfamiliar, it is easier for us to kind of develop illusions about all the things that can go wrong. But the idea is that you almost have to approach the situation as if the lights are on. You have to approach it as if the sun is shining. Although I don't know where this is going to leave me or lead me, what I do know is that there will be things that I can love and look for that are going to give me signs and symbols that I'm doing the right thing, I'm in the right direction, right? And so this is like, if you are a magician, do you want to use love or do you want to use fear when you are manifesting, when you are co-creating? Anytime we are feeling afraid, that is really just the energy testing us to see if we can get back to that feeling of love. Love says, listen, I have everything I need. I'm not missing anything. Nothing's going to go wrong. Like, love is just like, yo, like things are exactly how they're supposed to be, even if you don't know what that is, right? So your theme is that as you are creating, building, manifesting, there are going to be a lot of unknowns. When you start to feel fearful, or when the fear overcomes you because there are so many unknowns, the best thing that you can do for yourself is to rest. Now, the card that I'm looking at, it has like a tea mug, you know? So maybe having a sip of coffee, maybe there's something that you can specifically do every time you feel fear, right? So I want you to attack your fear and groom it. I want you to mold it into an energy that you can use. I want you to transmute your fear into love. So as you are being this magician in your own life, fear is natural and normal. But maybe when you start to become very afraid, maybe you just go make a cup of tea or have a cup of coffee. But when you're drinking the tea or coffee, all of those fears, all of those thoughts, acknowledge them. Consider them to be like clouds passing by. You know, on the days where you're carrying a lot of fear, that is a cloudy day. On days where you're living in resolve and you can tap into love very easily, that would be a day where there's clear skies. So recognize mentally when it is a cloudy day, because you don't want to use those clouds to co-create anything, right? And so those clouds are testing you to see if you can find love. So when you are in fear, do something loving for yourself, which is offer yourself rest. Let those clouds, those thoughts, those emotions, let it all just exist, almost as if you're watching the clouds pass by. Now, you don't have to engage in every thought that brings you fear, which is why Spirit is asking you to rest your mind. So I really believe that if you could just specifically choose an action, one specific action that you go to every single time fear starts to overcome, okay? Now, what is your challenge? Well, you're coming up as kind of like this Knight of Pentacles, somebody who is diligent, hardworking, consistent, right? You are a reliable person. You're not afraid to grind. You're not afraid to return every single day to like pour into this project. You don't care how long it takes. You have the ability to sustain like quality energy in order to build something. Your challenge, though, is to surrender. When we're talking about surrender, we're talking about the need to control, right? Now, we all want to control things because we want the outcome to be the outcome that we most desire, right? And so sometimes we'll control things hoping that if we steer it this way, steer it that way, it's going to land where we want it. But the thing about spirituality is that our 3D human body is not really in control. So if you are this magician, I want you to know that your partner is the universe, aka your higher self. And so Spirit is saying, listen, whatever you're building, whatever it is that you're manifesting, release the need to control every aspect. Surrender. Who and what are you surrendering to? Your highest version of self, meaning when your 3D human self starts to crash out or tweak out or become overcome or overrun with thoughts that really aren't beneficial. Surrender to your higher self and be like, okay, higher self, I'm feeling a little scattered. I'm going to let you take over and tell me how I can best approach this situation. And so your challenge, one, is to recognize that you're not alone. You're not doing this by yourself, even if it looks like you are. I promise you're not, okay? When you start to be a little afraid or fearful, have a cup of hot tea, rest, and let those thoughts come and go. No problem. Your biggest challenge, though, after you address your fear, is to recognize that when you are building, when you are working on whatever you're working on, this is your higher self that is leading. So you have to surrender to your higher self. This is, and however you tap in and connect to your greatest form. And listen, we at this point in our life, we absolutely know when we have a thought or an emotion that comes from our higher self or our lower self, right? And so Spirit is saying, fear is kind of a low vibration. So in the process of your manifestations, allow your higher self to be your co-pilot, right? Allow your higher self to take over when you feel like you have to control something out of fear. Now, this is what you think. Now we have curiosity and peace. And so here's the thing about curiosity. Your life has the ability to go anywhere as long as you're curious, because it means you're not content. It means not that you're not content, but it means that you have a hunger. It means that you are seeking. And so the beautiful thing is that you are curious about all the ways in which peace can find its way to you and make a home in your life, right? When we're talking about peace, we're talking about the fact that you already recognize that you're a being of love, right? And so if you are a being of love, then there's really no need for negativity or low vibrational energies to be consumed or to be stuck inside of you. And so this curiosity tells me that you're always looking and searching on how to be love, how to bring in love, how to exist in love. Like you're just not done. You are searching the universe for love, right? And I think the curiosity that you have to find and search for it, that's what brings you peace. One of the things is that you're not done. How beautiful is it to know that you're not done searching and finding and looking for whatever it is that you're looking for? And so something about holding on to your peace. So I also am getting the idea that your peace is so important to you that you refuse to let it go, right? Like the way you prioritize and protect your peace means that when you are looking out into the world, I think you're very particular or subjective about the things that you allow in because you understand how important your peace is, right? And so understanding that you are this being of love, you don't have to hold on to peace so heavily because you are love. And so you can't hold on to negative energy even if you wanted to. So your search for peace, your search for love, it really is never ending. The peace that you have can be multiplied as long as you maintain your curiosity. Right? And so this has given me the idea that whatever you've already acquired is not an indication that there's nothing left. So that whatever got you to the place and to the version of you that you are right now, the search is still there. Like that, like I almost get the idea of feeling like, you almost have to hold on to something because you're not sure if it'll come again, if you'll lose it, kind of like that energy. And so this is just recognizing your true divinity, and like you will never run out of peace. You will never run out of love. And so be curious, keep seeking, keep searching, and recognizing that even if you continue down this journey, you won't squander or lose what you've already acquired. I hope that's making sense. Lastly, this is what you need. We have intuition, perseverance, and the Three of Swords. What you need to know is that you've already been through some hard shit. You've been through some hard shit. You've dealt with pain, you've dealt with heartbreak, betrayal, you've had to learn how to heal, you've had to learn how to recover, right? You've had to be comfortable with crying, and then you got to be comfortable with the aftermath of the tears, right? And so the Three of Swords pretty much says that, listen, if you were to turn around and look at what you've been through, you should already know at this point that you can get yourself through anything that you put your mind through. Perseverance. I know that I can do whatever I set my mind to because look what I've already made it through, right? Now, once you recognize that there's nothing that can stop you, that allows your intuition to take over. Your intuition is like, those are like text messages from your soul, phone calls from your soul, emails from your soul. Your intuition is telling you there's nothing that can stop you. Don't you know what we've already been through? Did you forget who you were? Like, that's kind of the energy, right? And so there's a part of you that needs to recognize the superness in you, right? And so your intuition doesn't want you to forget that you literally can do everything and nothing is big enough to stop you or stagnate you, right? Now, pain has a way of convincing us that we are stopped or stuck. But if you've already experienced a certain amount of pain, then I think this is almost a reminder to say, look what you've been through. Now, can you imagine what's still left based on what you've already endured? Like, that's kind of what I'm getting. So we have, acknowledge the fear, put it down, rest, surrender to your higher self so that you can be curious about all the ways to add peace into your life. And any of the peace that you have, you don't have to cling to it because guess what? There's more. The universe has so much, right? Your intuition has to tell you, that, listen, you can get through anything that you think or decide you can get through. Just look at what you've already accomplished. All right. I love you so much, and I hope this was beneficial. I'll see you on the next one. Take care. Hi, Ruby. This is Tennille. Thank you so much for allowing me to do your mini read. Now, I know you mentioned past life. None of those readings were past life. So I tried to figure out which one I offered that I could kind of, that we could use that way. So I chose the trend. Now, the trend has 5 questions. What you have, what you're looking for, what you should do, what you want, and what's important for you to know. So now with the trend reading, I pulled one of my past life oracle decks. Okay. So I used tarot, I used a normal oracle deck, and then I use a past life oracle. So we will just go ahead and jump right in it. So let's talk about the first space. It says what you have. I have wisdom, release, and Ace of Swords. So the first card that came out for what you have was release. And on the card, it's literally just a knife, right? And so I see you as someone who has a knife, but the reason why you are carrying a knife is because there's something that you need to either release, something you need to be released from. But this is giving me the energy of a breakthrough moment. This is giving me clarity. What you are carrying is wisdom. Now, on the wisdom card is a unicorn. And so the way I get this is I'm understanding that just who you are in general, right? I feel like whatever you carry within your soul is very unique to you. It's unique in a very peculiar but beautiful way. It is unique because it is what the world needs, but it's not easily found. When we think about unicorns, we think about just these mythical creatures that you never really see. But in order to see something that's a myth, or to see it represents there's the potential of magic, the potential of a miracle. And so what you have is you carry the sword of truth. You carry clarity. You carry breakthrough. You carry understanding. You carry revelation. You carry prophecy, right? So for you to have the Ace of Swords, it means that you have the ability to free people's mind by way of offering truth, right? And so you are like a walking You are like a consciousness. You are a walking consciousness that by way of people interacting with you, naturally their consciousness is going to expand. And so maybe you are carrying a sword of truth, but maybe you need to release it. And when you release your truth, or you share your clarity, or this breakthrough, whatever it is, truth is justice. Truth doesn't always feel good, but in the event that things have been unjust because the truth hasn't been prevalent, when you bring the truth, it's not always comfortable, but it can free people. It can liberate people, right? And so you need to release the wisdom that you carry. The way that you release your wisdom, it may be very different from others, which is why we have the unicorn here. But I feel like the sword that you carry is a sword of truth. It must be released, but please don't think that the way you show up and express yourself in the world has to look a certain way. For this unicorn to be here, it means that whoever or whatever your energy and your essence is, it is supposed to be that way because only you have it. Now, next spot, what you're looking for. I have health, knowledge, and the magician. And so whatever interest you have as you move into the next phase of your life, whatever your passions are, it is connected to health. Now, when I see health and knowledge. So the knowledge card talks about your Akashic records. So this is giving me the idea that if you were literally right now to open your Akashic record, something about health is very important. Now, whether you're supposed to be a nutritionist or a fitness coach or a health coach, right? Maybe you work with herbs or, medicinal components or whatever it is, health is inside of your Akashic records, okay? Now, we also have the magician, which means that when you, as a co-creator, right, as a manifester, when you are the magician that has the knowledge that you are still looking for. So maybe there are certain things you want to learn about health, right? And the reason why you're looking for these things is because you're trying to manifest and create. But you're like, I still need a few more things to be able to create whatever it is that I know I'm supposed to be doing. And so the information or the knowledge that you may be seeking or looking for is something dealing with health. Maybe you are supposed to be in the helping profession. Maybe the wisdom or the truth that you carry, maybe the truth that you are supposed to deliver as this unicorn type of soul is supposed to break through the healthcare system in some way. Maybe you're manifesting a new form of health or a new knowledge of health, right? Now, what should you do? I have vows, grounded, and Two of Swords. And so this is literally saying that you need to make a vow. Listen, just like when people get married or just like when people sign a contract, this is what you are being asked to do. In order to ground your energy, in order to grow roots in this new industry and in this thing that you're attempting to manifest and create, in order to grow roots, you got to speak it. You got to make a vow. You got to make this thing real. When we're talking about being grounded, we need to ground when our energy is scattered, right? Can you imagine trying to grow a sunflower in midair? No, it's impossible. Why? Because we need those roots to be connected to the earth and to the soil. We need it to be rooted in, right? We need it to be connected so that we can pour water. It can have its nutrients. It needs to feed. So if you are not grounded, it means that you're energetically scattered. And so what you should do based on this reading, in the event that you feel like I'm mentally blocked, I can't see my way forward, I can't make a decision. Well, do I go left first or do I go right? Like, this is that energy of like not really being able to choose because we're kind of mentally conflicted. And so Spirit is saying, listen, anything that you can't see, any choice or decision that you can't make, it is because parts of you are not grounded. So however you ground yourself and however you root yourself, you must do it in the form of a vow. Like whatever this is for you, like it is a commitment. It is something that you must take serious, but it's almost like you have to speak to every cell inside of your body so it understands what time it is and what y'all are about to do. That's what I get, right? So any blockage, any clarity that you don't yet have, you're being asked to consider the fact that your energy might be a little scattered, right? And so you need to, one, make a vow to stay grounded, right? But then also vow into existence whatever this thing is that you're looking for or that you are wanting to have manifest and create in your life. Now, next we have what you want. We have trees, air, and the King of Wands. So when we see trees, I think of roots, I think of legacy, right? So we just talked about grounding. And I feel like anything that you can't see, sense, or yet understand, I feel like the vowels meaning VOWS, vows meaning like what you came here to do will make sense when you are grounded, when you are no longer energetically scattered all over. Because what is it that you're really running? You're wanting to grow roots. You're wanting to be connected. But these trees are connected to air. When we're talking about the element of air, we're talking about thought. Right? We're talking about thought. We're talking about communication. We're talking about breath. We're talking about spirit, right? We're talking about the throat chakra. We are talking about truth. And so I feel like you are wanting to be rooted in the element of air. Now, when the King of Wands comes out, this is like somebody who's like attractive. This is, now, if it's a masculine or feminine, it doesn't matter. But the Wands energy, it carries a spiritual presence, almost this captivating life force and this power. And so maybe in your communication style, maybe you want to be rooted in your own magic so that it comes out through your speech. It comes out in your thought. It comes out in your communication, right? Which is why you got to ground. And it's almost like what you're looking for is actually in you. It is rooted in you, but you almost have to tap into it. But if your energy is scattered and if you have not committed to this, then does your soul really know that you're ready for it? Okay. Now, what is important for you to know? I have Native American, Magic, and Three of Pentacles. Native American, remember these are my past life cards. So Native American says that, listen, during one of your lives, maybe you grew up on a reservation. Maybe you have a connection to Native American tribes or cultures or lifestyles. But something about the way the Native Americans used their magic or their beliefs about magic is directly connected to the art, the craft, the business, the creativity, whatever it is that you love to do, whatever it is that you're working on, whatever it is that gives you pleasure, right? Let's say that you own a store. And you know how when you walk by stores, you can look in the window? Well, when people are looking in the window of your store, they need to see why your store is different from all the rest. And something about your connection to magic and Native Americans is going to be the thing that sets you apart. So maybe that resonates with you already, maybe it doesn't. But it comes out as something that is important for you to know. So researching Native American histories, cultures, just places that they've lived. I'm in the States. I'm not sure if you're in the States, but something about how was magic used for Native Americans and however they used it. And now I'm going back to health, right? Because I think about herbs, I think about the natural world, just the way they use medicines and rituals and dance and sound. Something about those cultures may connect to the knowledge that you're manifesting, the knowledge that you're creating and looking for, right? Now you already have this wisdom that's going to be unleashed, but it's like you're trying to ground, you're looking for the roots that most match you. And so you may have a past life, or your soul may carry information about the way magic was used or practiced or mastered and perfected for Native Americans. So that could be what you are looking for, Ruby. I'm so hoping this was beneficial, and I can't wait to hear back from you so you can let me know. Thank you, Ruby. I love you, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.